Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam and this is the Subscriber Sunday video. It's also the video where I'm giving away the 3 sets of pruners from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. That's at the end of this video where I'm doing the drawing. Before that, I had about 3 people, I think, send in photos for Subscriber Sunday. I took some photos at the South Carolina coast this past week and then came home to the snow that's a little bit left here around me, and I took some photos in that as well. Before that, I had asked people to submit some questions for me to answer at the beginning of this video before the giveaway. So here goes with those questions. I had somebody ask about the A and B on the horticultural zone map, what that was all about. When the original map was made, each zone had an average low temperature span of about 10 degrees. I'm in zone 7, and our average low temperature is between 0 and 10 degrees. And some smarter people than me realized that that's just too big of a span, and so we've made A and B. And 7A, the average low temperature is 0 to 5, this is Fahrenheit, and 7B, the average low temperature is from 5 to 10. As an example of how bad this used to be before the A's and the B's, Winston-Salem in my state is in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. They're probably 90 minutes from some of the tallest mountains on the East Coast. I'm way over on the other side of Zone 7, almost on the coastal plain. I'm 90 minutes from the eastern North Carolina beaches. And the difference every night in the wintertime can be as much as 7, 8, 9 degrees difference between the area that I'm in and Winston-Salem or that Greensboro area. And so that 5-degree difference makes all the difference in the world when you're pushing the boundaries of plants, which we're always doing. We're trying to see, well, it grows great in zone 8, let's try it in zone 7. Well, we wouldn't try it first in zone 7A, we would try it first in zone 7B. So that kind of explains it. Divides it into 5-degree increments instead of 10-degree increments. Another question I got was about the white frost protection covers that I use at the nursery and at the garden center, whether we're taking them on and off during the winter, and whether water is getting through them. Water doesn't go through them very well. It does go through them, but it tends to go to the low spots where and drip right there, and doesn't do a very good job of uniformly dripping water through on all the plants. So I do take them off a few times during the winter, and the main reason I'm taking them off is not necessarily for water. We can water them well enough before we put the covers on to last the whole month of January. Salts build up in the pots. We use fertilizer we top dress the containers with, and it leaches a little bit all the time, and salts can actually build up in the pots. And I kind of know from experience that occasionally, if given the opportunity, it's nice to pull those covers off when it's warm and really thoroughly water them. I had an opportunity about a week and a half ago where we were going to have a thunderstorm, so I quickly got the covers off, allowed a big rain to really thoroughly wash all the salts out of those pots, and then we quickly got them covered back up before this latest round of cold. So we do have to take them on and off, have to time it. It's really difficult to time sometimes. Sometimes if you take them off and the cold hits before you have an opportunity to put them back on, those covers can end up frozen to themselves where they're wet and you really can't get them back on. I've had that happen before. I've had some of the worst cold ever on my plants because I was trying to be cute and get a cover off, get some water on it, and then the cover's frozen. I couldn't do anything about it, so my plants were just exposed for that time. Another question I got was about somebody is doing pawpaw trees from seed. They're stratifying the seed now. That means they have it in the refrigerator and they're cold treating it. Lots of plants need to be cold treated in different ways. I still have my tulip bulbs in the refrigerator because they need cold treatment, and I just haven't had a chance to put them in. I'm going to get them in this week after the soil dries out a little bit. I'm actually going to pot some too that I'm going to sell at the farmer's market this spring in my farmer's market space, so I'll shoot that video when I do it. But in terms of those pawpaw seeds, if it were me, after they've been cold treated and they come out in early March, I'd plant them in a container that's well drained to make sure whatever mix you use drains pretty well. Mix in some pine bark soil conditioner in the potting soil or whatever. Leave it up on a brick. Don't set it directly on the ground so that the water is allowed to drain out of those holes at the bottom. Maybe a 1-gallon container, and then let them get up maybe 2 inches or so, and then fertilize them. Sometime in the summer, I'd pot them into a larger container, and then I'd overwinter them in that container that first year and protect them in the coldest nights. Put them in a garage or whatever you need to do, wrap them up in a sheet or whatever you need to do, and then plant them that following spring. That's the way I would do it, not put them directly in the ground. I had somebody ask about pruning a mulberry tree that's already about 10 feet tall, hasn't fruited yet. I probably would have done some pruning on this thing in the years leading up to this moment. Mulberries are bleeder trees. There's a big group of trees that we have a hard time doing a lot of cutting on because they don't heal themselves very well. Birches are notorious for that. If you prune big limbs off birches, they really don't have a very good ability to seal that cut, and they just will pump all kinds of fluids out of that space when they wake up in the spring. But you prune mulberries in the late winter before they start to wake up so that you don't experience all the bleeding. You take out the oldest dead, dying wood, which you won't have a lot of because yours are so new. In a few years, you'll experience that, but I would start taking about 25% out of the top of that tree. A lot of people have very specialized pruning to do on them. Mulberries are like weeds. I don't think you're gonna hurt it, pruning it however you need to prune it. If it hasn't fruited yet, you might this year just go ahead and allow it to fruit, and then next winter start the practice of maybe taking down 20–25% of it every winter, and do it when the temperatures are in the 50s. Don't let it get up into the 70s and start to wake up before you do it. Another question I got was about camellias on the northeast corner of a house. I would do Camellia japonicas on the north side of the house where it's really shady. Sasanquas are not quite as shade tolerant. They are shade plants, but I've got one directly behind this camera, Camellia sasanqua, and it's on the north side of my house. It's in a little too much shade. It's a little thin. The ones that I've been planting in these videos recently are on the east side of my house. They're getting more direct sun. They're sitting in the sun right now as we speak, and I think they're better. So on the north side, maybe Camellia japonicas. They're the large leaf ones that bloom in the early spring. Camellia sasanquas bloom in the fall. Plant those in a little more sun, not all day sun, but a lot of morning, early afternoon sun. Another question I got was about pruning a contorted filbert. Contorted filberts are Henry Lauder's walking stick, those really funky trees that are so contorted. Theirs is out of balance because one side is shady. I've got a couple trees in my yard that are that way, where they're definitely, most of the growth is going toward one side. It is almost time to prune those. You prune those in the late winter as well. Most things, honestly, you prune in the late winter unless it's a early spring flowering thing. That's usually the rule. What I would do on it, I don't know how old your tree is, but you can go and take out all the dead, diseased, dying wood first, anything that's dried out on it from any side. Then that side that's dominant, I would go in and I would thin it out. I maybe take as much as 1/3 of the wood out of it. Anything that's overlapping, anything else, you can create some air movement through it, which will make a healthier tree just in general. And I think if you do that every February and you thin that one side, you can eventually create some additional growth on that other side. You'll never fully balance it in all likelihood. Hate to tell you that, but it's really, you're not going to be able to create sun on that other side unless you cut something down or move a building or whatever it is you have on that side of the plant. But you can help it some by continuing to thin that one side every year. If I've missed any questions, I'm doing from memory here. If I've missed any questions, I'll go back through that list and just try to answer them in the next few days. Just type them in. Thank you very much for watching, and here's some photos from the coast of South Carolina and snow photos this week, subscriber photos, and then the giveaway for the pruners. And thanks to everyone who participated in this giveaway on all 3 platforms. Thank you very much. I'm going to be doing this again. I'm not telling you when, but it's coming up soon, so make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you like my Facebook page, and make sure you follow me on Instagram so that you're alerted to when this giveaway happens again. Thank you very much. I had people leave multiple comments on Instagram and Facebook. So what I did was I just wrote down all the individual people that had entered and left a comment on those. So everybody was only entered one time, and then I used a random number generator on Google. The winner on Instagram is Lila_approved, and the winner on Facebook was Chris Freeman. And I'll show you the random comment picker here from YouTube. I'll put that video in here and load the comments, and then randomly pick a winner from the 84. I've got Barbara Stanko is the winner for the pruners on YouTube. I'll contact all three of you directly, but if you're seeing this, please send your mailing address to my email address right here on the screen, and Corona will get those pruners out to you.